You ready? Well, good evening, everyone, on this beautiful, beautiful October 12th day. Before we get going, pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting of the Traffic Commission will be conducted via remote participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville's website. All right. May I get a opportunity to see if we have a forum for this meeting, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes, here.
Councilor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes, sorry.
thank you. Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes and 1 absent. And Lena had sent a message earlier that she was unable to make the meeting tonight, and we do have a quorum.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. All right, meeting ground rules. Listen to the other side. Focus on issues, not personalities. Avoid questioning motives, and let's be polite. All right. Item number 1, acceptance of the minutes from the September 21st, 2023 Traffic Commission meetings. Can I get a motion to accept or deny?
Motion to accept.
Can I get a second, Lieutenant Raimel?
I'll second that.
Can I get a roll call vote, please, to accept item number 1 of the minutes from last month's September 21st meeting?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Councilor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 2. Request for an accessible parking space at 257 School Street.
Let's get
Who is here to discuss this item?
Through the chair, Adrian Pomeroy, ADA coordinator with the city of Somerville. I received this application from the parking department, did a site visit, reviewed the application, and recommend it for approval from this commission.
For discussion? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 2, requesting an accessible parking space at 257 School Street?
Motion to accept.
May I get a second, John? Can
I'll second.
I get a roll call vote to accept item number 2?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Councilor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 3. Request to extend the existing fire lane at 42 Prescott Road. The new fire lane will run from the corner of Preston Road for 45 feet in an easterly direction to the edge of the driveway. Who is here to discuss this item?
If no one's discussed, I can clarify it for you, Chair. The chief submitted a request to traffic to extend the current fire lane that's in front of 42 Preston Road. Took about 1 more parking space when a car was parked there. Company responding to an emergency call was unable to make that turn, and they're just an extension of the fire lane at that bend. That's it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Which is my only comment is we want our apparatus to get to where they need to go. So I think I do a motion to accept if nobody else has any further comments.
I have a motion to accept item number 3. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Wonderful. Can I get a roll call vote to accept item number 3, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Councilor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes.
and that's 4 yes, and motion carries.
Wonderful. Moving on to our last item, unless I'm missing something, item number 4. Request to install a do not enter 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, except residents signs to the 10 Hills neighborhood.
Go over to the sound bar.
Who is here to discuss this item?
should turn on when they're.
Chair, this is Brad Rawson, Director of Mobility and OSPCD. If it's okay, why don't I ask you to recognize Ward 4 Councilor Jesse Klingon, who sponsored this item and I know is here with us tonight. We've been working with Councilor Klingon on traffic safety issues all throughout Ward 4 for many years, including in 10 Hills. But this is his proposal, so definitely just wanted to call your attention to him as guest for this meeting.
Councilor Clayton, would you like to speak on this item?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and to the commissioners. I appreciate your time. I fully understand that these are not the ideal tool in most situations, but I would argue that in this particular situation, there's almost no reason to come into this area other than to cut through. And we've noticed a huge influx and a higher volume of vehicles coming through 10 Hills, including heavy trucking, which is not supposed to be coming through either. But it's creating situations that are unsafe. I've had some near accidents. I've had people not able to get out of their driveway. This is it's a last resort tool. It's seen as though, there's been a major influx with some of the traffic on McGrath Highway and Mystic Ave. It's used as a cut through, and I urge you and respectfully ask that you take mercy on the residents, the seniors and the residents that live in this area that have been really kind of inundated with just ride shares and cut throughs and people speeding through the streets. And again, I know that, public way is a public way. I know that, as far as using these, I wouldn't ask if it wasn't a situation where there really is no other reason to cut through except to literally go from Mystic Ave to 28 to 93. And there's a direct cut through on Puritan as well as Governor Winthrop. But rather than have those signs and then have people go to the next street up, I just thought it would be most effective to have on the 3 entrances to 10 Hills, put those signs, as they've done in Medford for areas when there was extenuating circumstances going on. So that's my pitch. I humbly ask that you'll approve this. Thank you.
Discussion on this item?
I want to thank Councilor Klingon for being a good advocate for his community. I agree, nobody should be cutting through residential streets, especially that neighborhood. But especially because it's a residential neighborhood. So this seems like a reasonable thing. Director Rawson, is there something we should do in the future to say, I do know I have quite a few streets in Ward 5 that are no truck traffic unless you're delivering something to the site and anything. Should we kind of add that to the what would be the motions to add that to these streets? If they, I don't recall seeing that in the list of streets, but this seems like a no-brainer.
Chair, through you, I'm happy to try to answer the questions and would certainly welcome perspective from commissioners and staff as well. So I do want to remind all of us, including the good counselor, that we've learned a lot over the last few years about the importance of physical traffic calming as an effective way to discourage not only speeding behavior, but also traffic volumes. Chair, you will recall that many of our safety projects, we measure traffic coming through these neighborhoods, and we often find 10%, 20%, even 30% drops in volumes after we build raised crosswalks, curb extensions, speed humps. And so although for many years Somerville did use these resident-only exclusion signs, the state of the art really has evolved a lot. And again, Councilor Klingon has been a great champion working with us on projects for physical traffic calming, places like Jakes Street, Fellsway West, and others throughout Ward 4. So I just wanted to call the Commission's attention to that particular issue. There was a question about truck restrictions. Councilor Gomez Moncada, as you know from our work in the Council Traffic and Parking Committee, Mass DOT does have some jurisdiction working with municipalities who seek to restrict truck movements on public ways. Technical studies are required. And sometimes a designated trucking route is required to be established. That is a process that we know how to work through as staff, but it is labor intensive. And I believe that it's a little distinct and different from the resident only prohibition that is being requested with this agenda item. So definitely happy to work together to work on that issue and understand it. But I think these are two separate but related issues.
Great, thank you.
Or through the chair, if I may.
Yes.
I'm Jessica Bello, traffic engineer. I have been working with the parking department and the mobility department. I'm in the engineering department on drafting street design policy. And we have discussed the do not enter abutters only signage, and our draft policy at this time is to not install it anywhere. And Lieutenant Reimel, I would love to hear your perspective on how enforceable that sign really is. But similar to what Brad Rawson has mentioned, we haven't noticed significant improvements by using that sign. And so we're really trying to use adequate tools to maintain our residential neighborhoods. So that's point one, speaking to the do not enter abutters signage. Point two, speaking to the truck restriction signage. There are specific warrants that MassDOT requires, and that's not actually something we can improve as the city. We need to go to the state to get approval with engineering documentation for engineering studies that include volumes and percentages of trucks on the streets. And I don't need to get into all the nuances of what those details are, but that is something that takes more than just coming to the Traffic Commission with requests.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think what I'm hearing from both you and Director Rawson is like the most effective way is to use our traffic calming tools to kind of discourage folks to cut through there. And it's not my word. I don't have all your terrific
I'd like to
plans.
Yeah.
So I will, I hope that this is in part of our list of items to look at, because as a chair of the Traffic Commission, I would be concerned that this is kind of a little island surrounded by a lot of heavy traffic areas. Councilor Klinger, it's your ward, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah, if it's okay with the chair, I'd like to respond. I don't think there's any reason for Officer Reimel to respond. I understand the Fourth Amendment and search and seizure stops. This is more of a deterrent, seen as that it is a very unique situation and that
And
it
it
is
works.
around.
It works, if I could interject. It does work.
It does work because people generally want to do good. People generally want to go by what people are asking them to do. And so that's why, as far as the heavy trucking, I believe I was just stating that there's already a sign on Shore Drive for no heavy trucking. And that sign is just faded and whatever. But I mean, I was just saying that perhaps this sign would also act to say to the truckers, oh, like, again, maybe I shouldn't go down there since they're ignoring the heavy trucking sign already. So it was more just an addition to, but again, I understand that this is not, our first choice of tool, but I'm responding to my constituents. And I think this is a deterrent in a way that we can, as Director Rawson said, as we do these road diets on Mystic Ave and other places, that's exactly what's forcing the traffic into a neighborhood similar, like 10 Hills. So I would argue that again, this being a unique situation, I would ask that you consider supporting us. Thank you.
I have a question. My understanding, this is not enforceable, correct?
If I could interject, to a point, if and when the truck signs do go up, that we don't even need a time frame. Trucks aren't allowed on the road, they're not allowed on the road, and we can certainly pull them over at any time and cite them and enforce that rule and regulation. There are some specific rules that the courts simply throw out, and the answer they give is that it's a public road paid by public funds. You can't put a time limit on it. And that's yes, no, but we can certainly be there with the signs. And if they're doing anything else, we can pull them over. And just as I said to Councilor Klingon earlier, you'd be surprised just by having the sign up, how much of a deterrent that is. We did something similar with Brad knows up in the Heath Street area, and it worked wonders. We were out there for 10 days, and for the following 10 days up until today, I was out there this afternoon, and it is really slowed down. Putting that sign up it's a psychological impact, and it helps a lot.
Yeah. And I know that one just went up on MacArthur Street over by the Edgerly School. So they are still going up.
And I have a comment. There's one right off when you get off Route 2 and Route 16. That's a very well-known cut through that Cambridge police enforces. And I think it does appear to work there, which is more of a similar condition to this, I would think.
Yeah, and it also gives me the ability to go out there if somebody requests, like a citizen or someone from City Hall might request a constituent about a traffic complaint. It gives me the ability to put the officers out there. They may or may not necessarily be able to pull somebody over. You know, as the council said earlier about, you know, what you have a right to pull a car over for. That's neither here nor there. The fact that we're there and they see us, they don't know what we're there for. So if they see us, you know, they might think twice the next time not to go up that road. And the psychological deterrent works. It really does. Can't stress that enough.
So how does this affect folks going through that actually work in the city? They're trying to get to work. They can't go down that road. They can't go down that road either.
If a city worker
Yeah.
you up the road, well, they if we're there, we would certainly. What's your reason for going up the street? And if they have a reason for being there, I would think that would be okay. We probably wouldn't stop them.
Okay, I mean, first of all, I appreciate the the conversation. I would hope that nobody would be stopped. Again, it's just a deterrent, and I think the city workers should and would know that they can certainly cut through the area. Again, this is just more for people who are from out of town that are looking to cut, using the app and looking to cut through. And I mean, I don't feel comfortable with this. The conversation is definitely going away. I don't want anybody pulled over. I just think that the sign, when people that generally want to do good, which I think is most people, they respect signs, and I think that they're not going to cut through we won't have the volume that we have now. And that's the last I'll say on it. Thank you.
I agree with you, Councilor.
I guess my concern is that we're potentially voting on an approval of something that's not really enforceable, that is not in accordance with our current policy within the city. And it's potentially not consistent with what we're doing in other parts of the city. So that's what I'm trying to understand. And hearing from Jessica and Brad, it feels like we're doing something. If the committee decides to vote to approve this and gets voted on as a yes, is it just to have the appearance of doing something? It's not something that's really sustainable, efficient, and really the message we want to send from some of it. That's what I'm kind of confused about. So, Brad, my understanding, this is not consistent with the city's policies, correct?
Chair, I'm trying to think creatively here as well. And I think it's important that the commissioners, the councilor, and our constituents know that city staff are working every day and every week to define standard operating procedures, so we have a common playbook to draw from, and that common playbook is rooted in evidence. But we haven't moved every single policy question far enough along. So Jessica and I cannot bring to you all tonight a finalized policy that recommends anything, whether it's concurrent pedestrian signaling, right turn on red restrictions, or use of this type of sign. This winter, I believe that the interdepartmental group will have enough progress to bring to this commission a series of global policy recommendations and be able to have these kinds of conversations, Chair. So I'm sorry that we're not quite as far along in that due diligence process, and it feels like we're stuck in the middle here. And we are very sympathetic about the cut through speed and volume that really creates quality of life and safety impacts for our residents. If the commission chooses to move forward tonight with this request, I believe that we can still come back to you all as your technical staff and illuminate these issues with more global solutions going forward, because that's the way we do our work. You all deserve the best information. Our residents deserve it, and more will be forthcoming in the coming months. I don't know if that's helpful at all, Chair. I'm trying to, articulate empathy here and answer your question as best I can.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely.
If I could just say something on that point, I would say I agree with Director Rawson that I think, if and when the universal policy is that we don't have these signs and they all come down simultaneously around the city, I think that would be fine. But until that day, I think the residents see them here and there. And I think that causes a little bit of confusion. And quite frankly, again, knowing and being a progressive person and thinker that I am, that I don't usually ask for these specifically because I know that they aren't the best tool in the toolbox, but being that this is literally a mushroom cap of an island surrounded by 3 different highways, I would argue that this would be an ideal location for these signs. And again, when they all come down, these come down as well. That would be, my suggestion.
Through the chair, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Director Rawson, I don't have all your terrific plans in front of me. Is this an area we're looking at doing some design changes? Is it in our radar screen to do design changes to kind of deter people from going through these streets? And where is it in the queue if it's there?
Through the chair, yes, there are a series of projects. One is on Shore Drive itself. We've been working with Councilor Klingon and with residents for many years now to build a quick build protected bike facility, which has a lot of traffic calming benefits. We're currently in the engineering phase to bring that to a sidewalk level shared use path, so it looks better, is more accessible for more people, and that'll clearly serve as another type of deterrent to convenient cut through traffic on Shore Drive. But Councilor, in response to your question, that construction is still a couple of years off. On the main line of Fellsway Route 28 southbound from the Wellington Bridge, the city is currently working with Mass DOT on a series of safety enhancements, and I'm trying to remember the exact plans. There could be a raised crosswalk at the Governor Winthrop entrance to the neighborhood, which will also serve as a deterrent for convenient cut-through traffic, but I need to check the plans to see if that is included. That construction is also scheduled to begin about 2 seasons from now, so we definitely have an interim period here. We always work with ward councilors on speed hump siting. And as we think about opportunities for traffic calming in and around the Ward 4 neighborhood, this is exactly the kind of advocacy that helps engineering, parking, and mobility work together with fire, with DPW to find opportunities for appropriately sized and sited speed humps as a more durable deterrent for speeding and cut through behavior.
We have no data on people that are cutting through the. Any statistics saying that most people that are cutting through aren't going to somewhere in Somerville. We're just making assumptions, correct?
Chair, we do have some traffic data on Shore Drive, but not on other interior streets in the 10 Hills neighborhood. However, I'm pleased to report that Mobility has recently invested in a cell phone data service that allows us to evaluate cut-through behavior for the first time. We've just started using it over the last month or 2, and we've been prototyping it on a series of streets where we hear from ward councilors, residents, and others about a need to understand cut-through behaviors. So I'd be happy to come back to this commission, work with the Ward 4 councilor and talk about these issues in more detail and see if the modeling on cell phone data is consistent with what residents are observing in the neighborhood. And we might be able to say things like, for example, 50% of the cars on Puritan or Governor Winthrop are not Somerville residents and they're not Somerville workers and they're not Somerville shoppers. That's how fine-grained the cell phone data can be.
Director Rawson, are there other areas in Somerville that this is an issue that you've heard about from constituents?
Chair, absolutely. This is a common thread in all of our neighborhoods that people are sick and tired of serving as the on and off ramp for the Metro Boston economy. Again, I can't express my sympathy and solidarity strongly enough.
Why don't you ask the people in the Mystic projects, they're also getting cut through major. Look, we're talking about Mystic Ave. That's the problem. I don't know if all of you are familiar with the area, but it's Mystic Ave, Route 28, and Shore Drive, which connects, and then people coming off 93 to get to work. There's an exit right there. They cut either through the Mystics or through 10 Hills, because there's two different outlets and inlets at the end of the street of Puritan and Governor Winthrop, where you can just cut straight out to 28 and basically avoid a whole like huge line of traffic. They're never even going towards Somerville. They're coming off the highway and then getting right back onto McGrath Highway. And again, I say, when they all come down, then these come down as well. But until then, I think that we owe it to the people in the area that we're consistent. And I don't know when that one on MacArthur went up near the Edgerly, but I'd like to know if it was, obviously it was voted on by you folks. But anyway, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just like not sure where this is going. I mean, you can vote and say no, that's fine. But I strongly urge you that this is a unique situation that even Brad, I think, would agree that there's other parts of the city. Sure, people complain all the time about cut through, but I can show you pictures from residents of long lines of cars down Shore Drive and cutting up and down Putnam and Puritan, where people aren't able to get out of the driveway and stuff like that. So, but okay.
Yeah, all due respect, trustee, this is part of our committee process, just like your city council meetings, we have discussions and banter back and forth. And we want to make sure before everything goes before a vote that we have a clear understanding of the request and the process, how we're going to move forward with this committee going through the chair. So just want to make sure that before we get to a final vote, that we are actually making transformative votes and not just doing transactional check boxes. And so I really value my committee members' input and the thought process, and make sure we have their discussions in this committee and we're doing things appropriately with our committee standards. So further discussion on this item?
No.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 4?
I will put a motion to accept, and I will put it in this context. I think this is a unique neighborhood that is surrounded, definitely. I know there is a lot of cut-through traffic through all of Somerville. I think Director Rawson and I have talked extensively how Cedar Street is one of those cut-throughs. But I think being so close to so many highways, I think this is an understanding areas. For example, there's no right after you get Route 2 through 16. Similar condition. I think it's appropriate for now. I do want to be respectful that we have an engineering and a mobility department working on standards of really elevating us and how we handle our traffic issues. And really, I think I'm going to dare say it's the most creative city in the metro area in handling these things. So I do want to be respectful of that, but I also understand, I think our constituents do need, there's a balance between standards and constituents feeling heard. And I do consider this neighborhood kind of an island in itself. So I feel comfortable approving this and knowing full on that Director Rawson and Jessica Bello, who does an excellent job as well. She's always out there in the streets, rolling up her sleeves, that they will be working on this in the near future. But this is to give our name, it's just to give them an assurance that we're listening and we care. I know it's not exactly by the book. I could see the thought process and some folks thinking we do it here, everybody's going to ask for this. Of course they will. Everybody asks for a speed hump, by the way. As well, but I think this is it's a unique situation that sort of warrants. I also want to know that when SPD is telling us they think this is effective too, more as a deterrent, than anything. We're not asking for people to be stopped. That's not what we want to do. It's just it's a temporary, let's call it something in our temporary creative toolkit. So I would do a motion to approve. Sorry, that was a long motion to approve. I apologize.
Oh, I appreciate your thoroughness and your thoughtfulness.
Through the chair, can I ask a
Second, yes.
question?
Yes,
Is this approval for all of the 10 Hills neighborhood, or is it just for the entrances at Governor Winthrop and Puritan at 10 Hills Road?
that is a great clarification because that will
That's-
be clarified in this item before we can actually vote.
Yeah, can we clarify that? Because my understanding, sorry, through the chair, is that it's only through the entrances. I wouldn't put this in every single corner.
Right, but is it all of, like, is it all of the cross streets along 10 Hills or just the two that we've discussed?
So I'm not sure. Yeah. So basically it's Shore Drive at Mystic. So people coming off of Mystic see the sign. It's Temple Road at Mystic. And it's Shore Drive at Route 16 or 28 rather, 28. 3 signs. Basically the ones that are majorly publicly, like with a public facing, where they come. I mean, yeah, people might know about the cut throughs. There's 2 other openings on Route 28 further down. You know, that, I'll be fine with leaving though. I mean, people are still going to maybe cut through those, but it's when people come off of over the bridge. So 28 and 38, Route 38, Route 28, and at Temple Road. Those are the ones and that's through the chair, of course.
Madam Chair, should we do a motion to amend this to say signs to the 10 Hills neighborhood at specific roads, so we don't get an implication? We're very clear as to where we want this, because I can see Ms. Bellows thinking this is gonna be quite a scene if we have a sign on every corner. So would that make everyone more comfortable?
Yes, I think we would need to clarify where these signs would go.
So do I have to make a motion to amend the item?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
So can I make a motion to amend the item to include, I need help, someone telling me the roads. Counselor Klingon?
Yeah, through the chair, the entrance of 10 Hills at at Mystic Ave and Shore Drive. The entrance of 10 Hills at Temple Road and Mystic Ave. And then the entrance to 10 Hills to Somerville at Shore Drive at McGrath Highway. I'm sorry, Route 28, I don't know. 28, I guess I don't know what it's called. Just Route 28.
Jackie, can you summarize that so we can amend this item for a vote for tonight?
Yes, I think I just need clarification on the third area, the third location.
I think he means Fellsway at Shore Drive.
Yeah, Fells Way at Shore Drive, you can call it, yeah. I don't think they call it McGrath, so whatever it's called at that portion, Route 28, Fells Way. Thank you. Through the chair.
So do I need to make a motion to amend item 4?
Yes.
So can I make a motion to amend item 4, and Jackie help me with all the streets because I'm not going to remember, to include?
Yes, so the motion to amend to just install the signs at these 3 locations: Shore Drive at Mystic Ave, Temple Road at Mystic Ave, and Shore Drive at Fellsway West. Or Fellsway, sorry, not Fellsway West, that's our local street, right? Fellsway? Similar to the counselor, it's like McGrath and Fellsway merge over there.
I want everyone to be clear. Can we get, what's the exact in that third? Okay, so Tammy, what was it? Fellsway?
It's Fellsway.
Fellsway, okay. All right, can you just say that last one more time so we're all clear that we're voting to?
Yes, so the official location of the third sign is Shore Drive at Fellsway.
Great. Is there a second to this amendment?
I'll second it if nobody else will. I'll second that.
Right, can I get a roll call vote to amend item 4, the 3 locations stated recently by Jackie?
Yes, Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Counselor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Rymel,
Yes,
Deputy Chief Tierney.
Yes,
So that's 4 yes, and the amendment passes.
Any further discussion from my committee members, or our guests, Councilor Clinton, before we move on to a motion to, accept or deny?
I guess
Madam- Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Report.
just one question, I guess, my concern with what is engineering and mobility's thoughts on this, where I haven't voted on one of these before. They may have gone into place as Councilman Klingon stated. I just haven't voted on these before. And what is our process going forward if we're bombarded with these now? Thank you.
Chair, through you, may I recommend to the commissioners that staff put our heads together and figure out how we can offer up to you a series of informational discussions on the policy areas we have been investigating as we try to come up with a common street design manual and policy framework. And Deputy, it could be a long process. We could ask you all to consider something specific like a no turn on red policy, and it might take you a couple of discussions to get the technical information that you require and lead us towards a recommendation for future policy decisions. And I think that the winter time tends to be a good season for that kind of work because we're out of construction season and our staff are doing a little bit more heads down desk work. And so I think we would look to the chair and we'd look to all of you to guide us in how to be most helpful in framing up, okay, existing conditions inventory. How many streets have these legacy regulations today? Are there any commonalities among them? What's the map look like? And you know, things like that, so you can all understand the context of where these regulations may have come from and how the engineering practice and the planning practice has evolved since then, and what we would recommend to you all as kind of the next generation of the tools necessary to keep people safe on our streets. So I don't have a firm recommendation, but I think it could include multiple meetings worth of kind of socializing technical information and learning together.
Can I? Madam Chair?
Or Councilor Clinton.
Yeah, Madam Chair, can I just say, as a ward counselor, in my, my 6th year, my 3rd term, I've been asked for these a total of 1 time. And people know about them and they exist all over the place. I usually deter people. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for certain circumstances. So I would simply say to them, no, we're not, that's not an ideal location for that. So, but just to the good council person, sorry, Commissioner, I would just say that I don't imagine that it's not going to be on anybody's radar. These already exist.
Any further discussion? Can I get a motion to accept or deny item number 4? And can I, on these following locations, and Jackie, if you can repeat those locations again, please?
Yes, so the amended locations are Shore Drive at Mystic, Temple Road at Mystic, and Shore Drive at Fellsway.
And this will be to request to install at those locations. Do not enter 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, except residence signs to the 10 Terrace neighborhoods at these 3 locations only. Motion to accept or deny.
I'll do a motion to accept.
Can I get a second?
I will second that motion.
Can I get a roll call vote to accept item 4 for those 3 locations only?
Yes, Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Counselor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
Yes,
and that's 4 yes, and the motion carries.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, my wonderful committee members, and thank you, Councilor Klingon, for your input. And the mobility team and Jessica, thank you so much for your thoughtful responses. Seeing nothing else on this wonderful agenda, may I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
second,
Can I get a roll call vote to adjourn, please?
Yes. Chair Lathan,
Yes.
Counselor Gomez Moacad,
Yes.
Lieutenant Raimel,
Yes.
Deputy Chief Tierney,
yes.
and that's 4 yes, and the motion to adjourn carries.
So being Ruby Tunes. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for this
Yeah.
great honest conversation.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
See you
Thanks,
later.
everybody.
Bye.